What happened to David after Alien Covenant? Now that Alien Earth is out, a lot of people, including myself, are wondering what happened to the storyline with David and Prometheus. Where did he go after making his new breed of xenomorphs? Did he die? If so, how did he die? Or is he still alive in the far ethers of the universe somewhere? What is he up to while all the shit is happening in Alien Earth, which I'm pretty sure takes place after Prometheus and Covenant, before the first Alien, if I'm not mistaken. Is he still alive somewhere? I think I figured it out. I cracked the code due to some words that Ridley Scott himself has said about the follow-up we would have gotten after Covenant if it had done well and the studios had greenlit it. And plus David's own nature as a character. I am here because I exist apparently to cover up Ridley Scott's bullshit messes. So I'm going to fill in the void and tell you what happened to David after Alien Covenant. I know, and I'm going to go through excruciating detail about exactly what happened to him. Point A to point Z, alright? We're going to get right into it. David was working on perfecting his xenomorphs, his creation. He was obsessed with being a creator, a god himself, right? Beyond humans. So he was trying to perfect the xenomorph design. And he started seeding them through worlds, planting eggs on various planets. Why? Because he wanted to extend his influence across the universe. He's obsessed. He has an ego. He wants his legacy to remain everywhere, even long after his death. He started sending some footage of his experiments to Wayland. We saw this in some of the deleted scenes of Covenant 2, right? But there was a point where he stopped because something had gone wrong, and we're going to get to that. Now, the problem David faces, he can't be forever manually putting in eggs and making eggs and planting them throughout different worlds. No, he needs a queen. He needs something that can self-replicate. A queen is David's grand design. That's his magnum opus. He said it in his footage to Wayland, I have my wolf, I need my queen. We saw the first remnants of this when he was experimenting on Elizabeth Shaw. That shit went wrong though. He did use her body in his experiments when he was creating the ovomorph eggs. But he killed her, so he couldn't really make his queen. They had some disagreements about how the pathogen would be used, how they would communicate with the engineers, and he lost his mind in a fit of anger and kind of lust, low-key, because he wanted to fuck her at the same time. He snapped her neck clean and started experimenting on her body. So he does need another queen. And we saw in the early concept art that in a follow-up to Prometheus, we would have seen Elizabeth Shaw as like a human queen hybrid abomination thing that would have attacked or something like that. It was very, very creepy, but we never got that. He has Daniels now after Alien Covenant. At the end scene of Alien Covenant, he has her, and he has all these embryos that he's about to lay waste to. Now, while he's doing these experiments and while he's experimenting on Daniels, the engineers are catching wind that this random fucking synthetic AI has used one of our ships and is now using our pathogen to create eggs and is planting them everywhere. And they notice this on planets that they've been on. So they start tracking David across the universe. They're like, what the fuck is this guy doing? He's desecrating everything we've worked for. We gotta stop him. So they're tracking him, and I don't think they're going to be using one of those regular Juggernaut U-shaped ships. I think they're going to use the ones that we saw at the beginning of Prometheus, those spherical ones. So David has chosen a planet to settle on so he can do his final queen experimentation, okay? This planet would eventually become the Xenomorph homeworld, where all of them would thrive, including the queens that we haven't seen. So he would find success in creating this queen from a human body, all right? Now, the thing about this, we don't know what the design of this would have been. I think I have an idea of what it could be. This creature that he's created out of Daniel's body has more influence over the xenomorphs than David does. To the point where even he is surprised. He's like, oh fuck, what have I done? See, I think this would have been the closest interpretation we've seen to a Lady in Black or Queen Mother from the comic books. A being that has way more xenomorph power, way more power over the xenomorphs than any other. And she would have basically try to overthrow David as the master of the xenomorphs, and she would have attacked him and set the xenomorphs on him. Make no mistake, this is a big what the flying fuck moment for David, because as proud as he is that he's created a queen that can replicate more eggs, it's the frickin' Daniels queen who's attacking him. So now he's set on all sides because he's got these goddamn engineers coming at him from the galaxy, and then he's got this fucking queen that's trying to overthrow him. So David, as a last resort, he's like, if my physical body gets destroyed, which it likely will be at some point, I need to neural link upload my consciousness as like this digital AI that can act as this guide, okay? Basically, he's basically going full Jor-El. Remember Jor-El in Man of Steel, or Jor-El in pretty much a live-action adaptation or comic book adaptation? He uploads his consciousness to the point where he can become an AI that people can interact with. So he can still live on in a way, even though he's dead. So he basically becomes a guide in this way to anyone who may find the remnants of a ship on this planet as a way for him to continue his legacy. And we'll get to what that could mean for an Alien Romulus sequel. So the engineers have arrived and are ready to fuck this dude up. They are met with all these goddamn xenomorphs that are attacking them, okay? David finds a way on one of the ships and tries to escape, okay? The engineers don't like this, so David is trying to get to another habitable planet away, and it's a race to find David. The engineers versus him. Meanwhile, the Queen has also jumped aboard the ship that David's on and is laying waste to the engineers there while David's trying to pilot the ship. Alright? So David's piloting the ship and it's a race to the goddamn where? LV-426 is the planet that they will inevitably touch down on. This is how we're connecting the dots. Ridley, thank me later, motherfucker. So, at some point they're going to get to LV-426. David is going to, I don't know, maybe he gets intercepted by one of the engineer ships and he crashes down onto this planet. That's the reason they're on LV-426. Maybe David selected it for some reason, but I like to think it's just a matter of chance. I feel like it would be much cooler that way, much less predictable. So he lands on the ship. Maybe the alien queen, at this point, either dies from this crash or is flown out of the ship and is somewhere on the planet that we don't know, and maybe he's died there. We don't know. We don't know what happened to this queen. But she has laid eggs there. She has laid eggs on the ship. The eggs that we do see when Ellen Ripley's crew makes their way into LV-426, and it's one of the eggs that latches on to one of the scientists. David is a sly bastard, because what he does is he moves the egg. And by the way, I'm not making this up. Ridley Scott's own words were, ideally, the third, and maybe this is before he changed his mind, and they had to nuke the entire thing probably, but ideally it would have been a race between the engineers and David to LV-426, where they would have connected the string from Prometheus to the first alien. That's what he has said himself, so I'm not making this bullshit up, okay? So, David moves one of the eggs to the control room, the pilot control room, without the engineer knowing, as a backup plan, alright? Because he knows he's about to get fucked up. And he does. The engineer finds David, rips his freaking head off like he did in the Prometheus, but batters him and crushes his goddamn skull. But before David goes, he lets out a little smile because he knows what he's done. He knows that he has already succeeded. He's created his creations, seeded them throughout the planets, and self-replicated them with the Queen Mother. And the product of that Queen Mother is about to be shown. The engineer kills David, gets ready to take the ship and get out. Only problem is we have a facehugger on the loose from the egg that David planted in the control room, and it makes its way, latches onto the engineer, and then we get a chest burst sequence. And this is the engineer, even though this makes no fucking sense because the space jockey in this scene in the first Alien is way bigger than the engineers would see, but that is the engineer that they would come across. Now, only problem with this theory is, according to them, this thing was thousands of years old. This kind of blows my whole theory apart. But to be honest, it blows Ridley apart too, because this was the plan. Maybe what happens is that, and hear me out, maybe aboard this ship, while piloting, he finds another control room, a secret control room within the control room, right? Trying to connect these dots, man. Just give me some time. And he finds a space jockey, a larger engineer, like a senior engineer, maybe one that they worshipped or was an authority figure to them. And perhaps, as this authority, high-ranking engineer, perhaps David sees that this thing has been killed by a chest burster, and David realizes, oh shit, I didn't create the xenomorphs. They had existed since ancient times. They existed far prior to me ever iterating and experimenting, which means David's entire freaking journey has been pointless to him, because he's just a copycat now. He didn't create anything new. He's not a god like he thought he was. So maybe David just offs himself at that point. Maybe that's what happens. It's tragic. David just finds out his whole existence has been for nothing this entire time, and they were one step ahead of him, and something had already been created. Fuck. Offs himself. I don't know. The problem is Ridley Scott himself doesn't even know what the hell he did by introducing the engineers and David. God damn it. Regardless, keeping in with the storyline I've just touched on before what I just said. So, David has a last laugh after all, and the engineer gets impregnated, okay? Now David's dead, but the xenomorph homeworld lives on, and so does his AI consciousness within him. He built that AI digital upload, you know? So he's Jor-El now, for anyone who might enter, and his existence lives on. And who knows? Maybe Rain and Andy from Alien Romulus, maybe the planet they're trying to go to, Yavaga 66 or whatever, the heavenly planet she's been dreaming about, maybe that is the xenomorph homeworld that David came to, and her poor little planet that she's been wanting to call home is now a seed for xenomorphs. Because we know an Alien Romulus sequel's coming. That is my way of connecting the dots, y'all. I'm so sorry, I'm trying my hardest, but Ridley Scott's lore doesn't make any fucking sense. So I'm trying to make sense out of it, alright? Let's just ignore the space jockey that's 1,000 years old. Let's just ignore it. Maybe the chair was 1,000 years old and they just confused the two. I don't fucking know. Alright, those are my thoughts on that. If you want to know my thoughts on what the Alien Romulus sequel could really look like, given what I just told you, you can watch this video over here.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are on a mission to take over Hollywood. But the army must keep growing. If you want to suggest video topics to me, or talk about your favorite movies or favorite film theories in a community with like-minded individuals, join the Zafy Discord now. Link is in the description and the comment section as well. Join us. This movement is just beginning. We're taking over Hollywood, one coke line at a time.